Hello to everyone and welcome on the YouTube channel School for All. So the tutorial of today is a past question, June 25, under project management. So in the previous video, we did everything concerning project management, from the definition of a project, tool used to represent a project, Gantt chart, PERT chart. We did everything and some definition under project management, like what is lead time, lag time, critical path, slack time, and so on. So if you have any problem with any of these terms, make sure you watch the previous video. Good. So this June 25 ICT. Good. Now the first question. So this is question 3, Roman 1. So it's a question on project management. Now they say a project schedule is given below. So here you have a table, because the next thing I want to precise here is we have different types of questions. So there are some questions where they will give you the project description, and from that project description, they can ask you to draw a Gantt chart or a PERT chart. And from the Gantt chart and PERT chart, they can ask you some questions under, like determine the critical path, determine the slack time, and so on and so forth. Like this is a good example here. Here we are having a project description, and from this project description, you are going to draw the Gantt chart and the PERT chart. Even though the question is asking about the Gantt chart, but you are going to do both Gantt chart and PERT chart so that you learn exactly how you're supposed to handle it. Now, other type of question you can have under this chapter is they can give you the PERT chart directly, or they give you the Gantt chart, and from there they ask some question under. So take note. So these are the different possibilities. Good, but for this 2025, you are not having a Gantt chart nor a PERT chart, no, but you are the one to produce it from a project description. Okay, so the first question under A, they say what is a task? Good. So the definition of a task, we have different way of saying that. So a task is just a unit of a project. That's all. Task. A task is a unit of a project. Good. A unit of a project with a start and end date. Good. So either you say that a task is a unit of a project, or maybe an activity in a project, good, with a start and end date, or you say start and end time if you want. Good. So another person can say a task is a part of a project that must be completed on time. Good, because you know a project is made up of multiple tasks. Good. So by the time you complete a task, you move to the next task, and so on and so forth. When you are done with all the different tasks, you are done with the project. Good. So a task is just part of a project. Now the next question, they say represent the schedule above in a Gantt chart. Good. So the table is visible for everybody. Let us draw the Gantt chart. Now generally to draw Gantt chart, to make it very easily, we are going to draw a table, because a Gantt chart is made up of two parts, the vertical axis and the y-axis. If you are drawing a table, it simply means that our horizontal axis, will be up. Then the vertical axis is not changing the position. So someone else can draw something like this. Good. So this is your horizontal axis, this is your vertical axis. On the vertical axis, you represent the activities, or let me say the task, and the horizontal axis, you represent duration of each task. Good. But to make it very easy for us, we are going to draw a table. Good. Now, under this table, we have something here. Let me just draw this. So here it task / duration. Good. Now, identify the table. On the table, we have tasks A, B, C, G, E, F, G. Good. So these are the different tasks. So you draw your line. Now, concerning the duration, so you have seen that here the duration, they have not precised whether the duration is in days, week, or months. But you don't care about that. So just label by using your numbers like this: 1, 2, like saying day 1, day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In fact, where you are ending simply depend on how you'll be indicating your different tasks, or depend on the duration of each task. Good. So if the way we are organizing our tasks is going to more than 10 days, like maybe there's a task that ends, I don't know, at day 11, you just add a new day. Good. So let me just draw these horizontal lines. Okay, now, so let us draw this very fast. So task A, At the level of predecessor, you realize there is a dash. Simply means that A is not having any predecessor. And the duration of A is what? 3 days. It simply means that A is at the starting point because it's not having any predecessor. It takes 3 days, so day 1, day 2, and day 3. So a box here represents a day. So you just shade it like this. Nice. You go to the next task. Task D. Task D, predecessor, dash, good, meaning no predecessor. When you don't have a predecessor, it simply means that you are starting at the starting point, that you are starting at day 1, good. And duration is 2 days. So we just shade it here. Good. Now, C, tax C, predecessor A simply means that tax C depends on tax A, because tax A is the predecessor of C, meaning that A must complete first before C can start. Good. So this is where A ends. So C must start somewhere here, and it takes how many days? 4 days. Good. The duration is 4. So this day 1, 2, 3, 4. So it shades 4 boxes. Take note. Now, go to the next, tax G, depending on B. So this B here and this D. Good. How many days? 1 day. So just shade here like this. It's all. Now, tax E, depending on G. So this is the tax E. How many days? 2 days. Shade here, 2 days. Good. Next tax F, depending on B. This B here. So tax F must start somewhere here. How many days? 3 days. So you shade, 3 days like this. Good. Tax G, good, depending on C. So where is C? C is somewhere here. So it simply means that G is here. Good. Taking how many days? 2 days. So we just shade here, 2 days. And this all. So we are done with the Gantt chart. So how many marks? 3 marks to do so. Good. The next question is determine the critical path. So the critical path simply represents what? The longest sequence of dependent tasks. Good. That determines the minimum time to complete the project. Like from this Gantt chart, I'm saying that the duration of this project is 9 days, because the last task ends at day 9. So let us check the critical part. So the critical part here we have A. So let us analyze this is A. Good. So after A, the next task depending on A, we have E that depends on A, and we have C that depends on A. But if I take C, good. After C, is any other tag depending on C? Yes, G is depending on C. From there, it simply means that my critical part is A, C, G. Good. And the durations is for A is 3 days, so it's 3 plus C 4 plus G, so total of 9 days. So this is your critical part. If you want to test the other parts, imagine that I take A. After A, you move down. This is another dependent tax here. So you take A. After A, you take E. After E, is any other tax depending on E? No, nobody is depending on E. So a tax depending on E simply means a tax that can start immediately after E is done, and we are not seeing anybody here because the other tax is they are starting after. Good, so it's not depending on E. Take note. Now let us imagine that you are taking the part B. From B, you realize after B, the next person depending on B, so G. After G, the next person depending on E, and after E, nobody depends. So you cannot say that this is your critical part because you are not at the you don't from this part you are not reaching the last task. Good. Now the next person here, B. If I take maybe BF, after F, nobody is depending on F. Good. So make sure your critical part must include the last task of your project. So it's very easy and clear. So we are done with that question. Now, G, they say determine any slack task if it exists. And the next thing I want to mention here is very clear. You listen? Now, a task on the critical part is having a slack time of 0. Very good. So meaning that, and when they say that a task is having a slack time of 0, this task is also called a slack task. Take note of this. Now, it's very clear. Remember that a slack time simply refers to the amount of time a task can delay without delaying the entire project. And you are seeing that since on the critical part we have dependent tasks, Since they are dependent, it's similar. If one person delays, it's going to delay the entire project. For example, like this C on the critical part. Imagine that C delays for 1 day, and if C delays for 1 day, it simply means that C will end somewhere here. And automatically, since G is depending on C, it means that G will also shift for 1 day. And if G shifts for 1 day, it's going to end at day 10. Day 10, we are already extending the duration of the project because the project is supposed to end at day 9. So take note of that. The same thing for A. If you just delay A for 1 day, it's affecting C and it's affecting what? Affecting G. So take note of this one. That is why we say on the critical part, all the different tasks cannot have a slack time, meaning that they are not slack tasks. Good. So now, since my critical part is having tasks A, C, and G, it simply means that the rest of the tasks are slack tasks, meaning that they can have a critical, meaning that they can have a delay, meaning that they can have a delay, like here, this task B. Imagine that B delays for 1 day, it's going to delay E, delay G for 1 day, and G will end somewhere here. And you are seeing that this is day 1, day 6, so it's not affecting the duration of the project. So take any of these tasks, not on the critical part, you realize it's the same behavior. So now they are asking for the slack task. So B is already the slack task. Good. So we have B, another person who is not on the critical part. No, C is not there. We have G. Good. We have the next person is E. E is not there. Good. We don't have G. So it's okay. No, it's not okay. F also. Good. So these are the slack tasks. Take note of that. How many marks? 1 mark. And it's all for this year. Good. But beside that, as I was saying, in the exam, they can give this same question, but they are not asking you to draw the Gantt chart, but they are asking you to draw maybe the PERT chart. So let me just clean this very fast and draw the PERT chart. And from the PERT chart, they can still ask all these questions. Now, generally, when you are drawing a PERT chart, there are different things you're supposed to take into consideration. So we know the definition first, that a PERT chart, in fact, is a network graph, or you say a network diagram if you want. Good. They also represent a project where tasks are represented using nodes. So this circle, in fact, we call them nodes, and duration are represented using arrows. Good. So now, when you are drawing a PERT chart, there's always a starting point. So either the starting point is indicated by a dot like this with an arrow, or you just have an arrow like this, or maybe you have a circle here written start inside. Good. So this indicates your starting point. Because in some questions, as I was telling you, they can give you the PERT chart and from there they ask question. And if you don't know how to identify the start point, it's already a problem. So these are the different ways to indicate the start point. So let me just use this notation here, like a circle, a dot like that. So this is my starting point. Now let us start. From the project description, task A, is task A having any predecessor? No. In that task A is at the level of the starting point, you draw your A here. And the duration of task A, you draw your line, you write, duration is what? 3. So remember that the duration is represented by the arrow starting from the task going forward, not the arrow behind. Because some students, if they draw something like this, they put 3 here. So, and they ask, let us say it's A. They ask what the duration of task A is. Someone will come and take this 3. No. So the duration is so always look the arrow moving forward. Good. And if you're having a task like this, without any value here, it simply means that the task is not having a duration, or take it as 0, because normally a task must have a duration. But there are some practical exercises, like I think June 2023, something like that, where you're having a Gantt chart and you see a task without having a value for the duration. So just take it as 0 and you continue with your question. Or you ignore the task, in fact, to take note of that. But what is preferable is to include the task in your work. But when you're counting duration, just consider that the duration is 0. Now, so here we are done. The next task is what? B. And B also is not depending on something, because they say predecessor dash. Good. So you mean that you draw your B somewhere here. Good. So C is also from the starting point. You take another arrow from this dot, you put it here, indicating that B is also from the starting point. And because there are some questions where you can have multiple tasks starting at the same time, or multiple tasks coming from the starting point. Good. Like starting at day 1 of the project. Like you can have maybe tasks that start after day 1. Like here, B, duration of B, they say 2 days. Good. The next task is what? C, depending on A. So this A here, so this is where you draw your C. So it's depending on A. And the duration is, they say, 4 days. So you write 4. Task, the next task is what? D. Go task D. Depending on B. So this one, we draw my task D. Go depending on B. How many days? G is taking task G depending on B. 1 day. Good. Now, the next, task E. E depend on D. Good, so this is where you draw your E depending on G. Okay. So, duration of E, 2 days. Now, task F depending on B. So this F here. You draw F here depending on B. So from B here, you need to add an arrow. And remember the duration of B was 2 days. So you also put that same 2 day here. Good. Now, what is the duration of F? From the equation, the duration of F is 2 days. So you write 2. Good. Now, no, I did a mistake. Duration of F is 3 days. 3 days. So just look at the description table above. Now, task, okay, G. Task G depend on C. Good. And the duration here is 2 days. And it's all. We are done with the table. But you'll be realizing that here we are having some arrows. Good. Some floating arrows. So just draw your dot here. This dot here represents the end point. Good. This is the end point here. And you just clean this. You bring them here. Good. You clean this. You clean this also. You bring it. You bring it here. Good. So here this is the end point. Good. And it's all. So this is your PERT chart. And from the PERT chart, you can actually the critical part is the same thing. The critical part, you realize here, this A, C, G. How many days? 3, 4 is 7 plus 2, 9. Good. Now, this another part here. Another part is B, F. B, F here. This because B, F, and it ends here. So the duration is what? 5 days. Good. Here, the next is what? B, G, E. Duration is what? 2 plus 1 plus 2. Also 5 days. So you are seeing that among all these, 9 is what? The longest period of time. So this is where you have your longest part. Take note of that. Meaning what? By the time you are day 6, you are already done with these tasks here. So all the different tasks on this part here and on this part here are done by day 5. Even by day 5 they are done because they are taking 5 days. So you are seeing that this one is going till 9 days. Simply that we have other tasks to execute. So take note of that. And this also just showing you how to draw the PERT chart from a project description. So see you in the next video to answer a new past question. Ciao.